All right, in this lesson we will focus on doing a bunch of simplifying in with exponents that are in all kinds of different forms, okay? So first of all, here we have x to the negative 2. What I just want to quick remind you of is that if you have a negative exponent, it needs to go, if it's in the numerator already, it needs to go to the denominator and become positive. And so I would rewrite that as that one. This is another negative exponent. So what this becomes is 1 over 16 to the 1/4. And then I want you to think about this as really the 4th root of 16 to the 1st power. So now you can kind of simplify this. So you can think about it like this and prime factor it if you want. 16 is 2 times 8, which is 2 times 4, which is 2 times 2. And I do have one group of 4 2's. And since my index here is a 4, you have to be in groups of 4 to leave. So this really and truly becomes 1/2. And that's all you can do to simplify that, okay? I will show you how to do these on your calculators too, just to kind of help you check your answers, but you do need to sort of know the properties behind these, and you are going to have to show your work on a test. So if I wanted to check this, what I could do is I could go 16 to the, and then type in -1 divided by 4, and it will do it for me, and it will give me 0.5, which of course we know is 1/2. Okay, and then if you hit math enter, it will even give it to you as a fraction. Here, this is 243 to the 3/5, which what this really is, if you rewrite it the other way, would be the 5th root, because this is the denominator, and so it becomes the index, and this is the numerator, so it becomes the exponent. And again, you can think about writing it like this too if you want, and follow that order of operations instead, and find the 5th root of 243, and then take that answer to the 3rd power. Or, of course, you can stick that into your calculator, and when you find the 5th root of 243, that's 3, which I then have to take to the 3rd power, and 3 to the 3rd power is 27. Or you can take literally 243 to the 3/5 power and stick it into your calculator, okay? Here I want you to be really, really, really careful. There's this negative out in front. However, it is not in parentheses like that. If that's what I wanted you to do, I would want you to take -32 to the 2/5 power. It's not, and I didn't write parentheses here, but if parentheses were written in this problem, it would be assumed to be right here. Okay, so if you follow your order of operations in this case, you are going to have to take 32 to the 2/5 power first, and then multiply it by -1. So I'm telling you that because when you enter this into your calculator, you have to be really, really, really careful. Okay, you want to enter it like this, the negative, and then it's just the 32 that goes to the 2/5 power. Don't put the negative inside the parentheses because that's not what's happening here. Okay, so be really, really careful about that. And you can see that you should get -4. All right, here, when you have more than one base, like here when we have x squared times x to the 5th, we would add those exponents and make that be x to the 7th power. Same thing here. I will add these exponents, and the most common mistake I see when people do this is they want to multiply the 8 by 8 also. Notice you don't do that here. I don't multiply x times x and make that be x squared to the 7th power. I just leave my base of x and make this be x to the 7th power. So same thing over here. Don't multiply those 8's out and make it be 64. 8 to the whatever power. Leave your bases and add your exponents. Okay, so this will become 8 to the 3/2 plus 5/2, and 3/2 plus 5/2 is 8/2, which of course is 8 to the 4th power, which if you type that into your calculator would be 4,096. Not 32. 8 to the 4th power is not 8 times 4. It is 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 4 times. All right, here we have a fraction now with a negative exponent, and these kind of trip people out. You can stick this into your calculator right like you see it and figure it out if you want and hit math enter enter, but I want to make sure that you are okay with the properties. So when you have a fraction, again, you have basically the numerator to that exponent and the denominator to that exponent. So I have 8 to the negative 2/3 over 27 to the negative 2/3. And now they're both negative, so they both need to switch spots and become positive. That needs to go down, and that one needs to come up. So now I have 27 to the 2/3 power over 8 to the 2/3 power. So what that really means is the cube root of 27 squared over the cube root of 8 squared. Okay, well, the cube root of 27 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So my numerator would be 9. And on the bottom, the cube root of 8, it's 2 times 2 times 2. That makes 8. So it's the cube root of 8 is 2. And then to the third power, and it shouldn't be to the third power. Sorry, this should be squared. Okay, sorry. The cube root of 8 is 2. And then 2 squared would be 4. I wrote that wrong, sorry. Okay. A couple more here. Again, I see 2 bases here, and when you see 2 bases, you need to add your exponents. And so I will add 1/5 and 7/5 to make this be x to the 8/5, which is really the 5th root of x to the 8th, which you can simplify a little bit, okay? If we rewrite this 8/5, this is really 1 and 3/5 power. So here's how many, the exponent on the x's on the outside of the radical, and here would be the exponent of the x's that are inside the radical. So what happens is I end up being able to pull one x out, and then I would have the 5th root of x to the 3rd. Okay, the other way you can think about that, if you need to, is this is the 5th root of 8x's, right? Because this is a 5, they have to come out in groups of 5. So there's one group of 5 that gets to come out, one group of 5x's that get to come out, and then there's these 3 that have to stay in the inside. Okay, so that's another way to think about it if you need to. And then our last problem in this section, again, I'm going to add these exponents. This time I do not have common denominators, which is kind of a bummer. And so I will need to do this. X to the 2/3 plus 6/7. I will add those exponents. Don't have common denominators, so I need to get them. My common denominator here would be 21, which means I'm going to multiply the left side by 7. So when I take 2 times 7, I get 14, and 3 times 7 gives me 21. And on the right side, I have to multiply it by 3. So 6 times 3 makes 18, and 7 times 3 makes 21. Now, if I add these, I have 14 plus 18, which is 32, over 21. Okay, again, when you add fractions, you don't change the denominator, you just leave it. If you think about that as a mixed number, just so you know, this as a mixed number is 1 and 11/21. Okay, so what happens then is I know that I have the 21st, this number is my index, right? And technically I have x to the 32nd in here, but we already know because of this that that breaks down. So I will have an x to the 1st on the outside, and then the 21st is my index, and an x to the 11th on the inside. Okay? And that is it for this lesson.